Mr. Murdaugh. Good morning.
This is State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh. Your Honor is aware he's been indicted in a slew of state grand jury charges, and I'm happy to read those numbers into the record. They are extensive. We have 2021 GS 4727 in Orangeburg County, containing a number of white-collar counts. 2021 GS 4728 in Bamberg County. These were indicted in the state grand jury in November of 2021. We have 2021 GS 4729 in Allendale County, also indicted in November 21. 2021 GS 4730 in Beaufort County, also indicted in November 2021. 2021 GS 4731 in Colleton County, also indicted in November of 2021. 2021 GS 4732 in Hampton County, indicted in December 2021. 2021 GS 4733 in Hampton County, also indicted in December 21. 2021 GS 4734 in Hampton County, also indicted in December 21. 2021 GS 4735 in Beaufort County, indicted in December 21. 2021 GS 4736 in Hampton County, also indicted in December 21. 2021 GS 4737 in Hampton County, indicted by the state grand jury in December 21. 2021 GS 4738 in Colleton County, that's indicted in December 2021. 2021 GS 4729 was a superseding in Allendale County in January 2022. 2022 GS 4701 in Hampton County in January 2022. 2022 GS 4702 in Hampton County, that's January 22 was when it was indicted. 2022 GS 4703 in Allendale County in January 22. 2021 GS 4727 superseding in March of 22 in Orangeburg County. 2021 GS 4730 a superseding in Beaufort County in March of 2022. 2022 GS 4701 in Hampton County in April. 2022 GS 4702 in Hampton County in April. 2022 GS 4703 is superseding in Allendale County in April of 2022. 2022 GS 4710 in Colleton County in June of 2022. 2022 GS 4723 in Hampton County in August of 2022. 22 GS 4724 in Colleton County in August of 2022. Finally, our last two, 2022 GS 4734 in Hampton in December of 2022, and 2023 GS 4703 in Colleton County, indicted in April of 23. Your Honor, the state grand jury indictments that I've just listed against Alec Murdaugh represent 101 total charges for an alleged loss of almost $8.8 million. Your Honor, the state is here, as we have discussed, I believe, back in April, requesting a trial date for Mr. Murdaugh. I believe that we look at some of the other co-conspirators that Corey Fleming has pled was supposed to go to trial this week. But Mr. Murdaugh remains the state's priority, and I believe the case that is the priority would be the case involving the Satterfield, Your Honor. That by far represents the greatest single loss among all the victims. That would be 2021 GS 4730, venue here in Beaufort County. And the state is intent and requesting the court to schedule a trial date as soon as reasonably possible, sometime before the end of this year, to try Alec Murdaugh on those particular charges.
All right, Mr. Harpreet, yeah. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, there are a number of different objections we have to trying any of these cases this year. We previously got the impression from Your Honor when we at the last status conference that you would not be trying any of these cases, and you'd be leaving the bench on January 1.
Tell me about that impression again.
That was my impression based on your discussion. Now, maybe I misread you. I've done that from time to time during the process. If I did, I apologize. But in the meantime, Mr. Griffin and I have scheduled other matters this fall. Both he and I have a federal trial in December. Before that, Your Honor, and I think I mentioned this the last time we talked, I have the oldest case in Lexington County, civil case, involves the death of 5 children killed by their father who was sentenced to death for it. We sued the Department of Social Services 8 years ago, and finally on a trial docket. I've mentioned this something I mentioned.
It's on a trial docket for when?
Motions on the 14th of October, trial on October, and I have a email here from Judge McCadlin who's trying a trial on, motions heard on October 13th, trial roster for October 30th. And it's at least a 2-week or 3-week trial. Mr. Griffin had an additional conflict in Texas in a federal trial. What day? October 30th. October 30th that week. So I guess this is September. It looks like most of October is going to be involved either getting ready for or trying that case. Wouldn't be done until early in November. And Your Honor, you know, it's going to take some time to get ready for these cases. But more importantly, and maybe this is the toughest thing I have to say, and that is this. This case was finished 6 months ago. It clearly, I don't think anyone would dispute this, had more publicity than any case in the history of this state, and maybe the country. On national television every day for 6 weeks. The motions motions hearings were covered, and they're here again today. It has been podcasted, blogged. You know, we've got podcasters out there who are gripping their 15 minutes, hanging by their fingernails, wanting more of their 15 minutes of fame, and continue to talk about this. I understand one of the solutions to massive pretrial publicity is a change of venue. There are 2 cases I want to cite to the court, both of the United States Supreme Court cases. Murdaugh versus Florida, and the cited, I'm sorry, at Shepard versus Maxwell. There are 2 kinds of pretrial publicity that would indicate a continuance and or a change of venue required. Prejudice is presumed for pretrial publicity when pretrial publicity is sufficiently prejudicial and inflammatory, and the prejudicial pretrial publicity saturated the community where the trials were held. They found presumed pretrial publicity in a case much less renowned, much less publicized than this one. And Your Honor, to try this case in less than a year after the verdict came in the other case, don't we need to let it calm down a little bit? Where are you going to get a jury? Mars? I mean, there's nowhere in this state.
Allendale, Orangeburg, Beaufort, Colleton,
Your Honor, and I
Hampton.
appreciate your sense of humor.
It's not a sense of humor. We have many counties where these indictments were issued. I am not presuming that a jury cannot be impaneled. Just as the trial that took place on Colleton County, there was no motion to change venue. And I'm not presuming any prejudice, and the test is not based on speculation. The test is whether or not a jury can be impaneled. You first have to attempt to get a jury according to the law.
What I'm saying is, I think it'd be an exercise of futility. I know this, we've been interviewing jurors, as you know, in the murder trial. There was a juror who on that jury, who had been excused, been on the jury panel within the previous year, and told other jurors, I want on this trial, I want on this trial. And that, I'm afraid, is what happened on that jury. We got a motion for a new trial for after discovered evidence. The Attorney General is going to file their response tomorrow. We believe the Court of Appeals will order a hearing before a circuit court judge to determine whether or not the clerk of court tampered with that jury. And that is and so we would go forward with another trial while that matter is pending, while that matter is being litigated?
Probably not in Colleton County.
Well, Your Honor, the idea that somehow something happens in Colleton County doesn't affect what happens in Beaufort County. I mean, this is a national case. I mean, do they not have television in Allendale County?
I don't know.
Do they not have the internet?
I don't know.
What's the hurry? That's the other point. What is the hurry? He's pleading in federal court next Thursday. Every allegation the state has made, the victims will have their day in court. We plead, Mr. Murdaugh indicated he pleads guilty to the state charges, but the state insists on doing them in serial so they get 3 convictions so they get life without parole on a guy who's already serving 2 life sentences without parole. This is just another attempt to get more publicity, to make this another national case. And, Your Honor, I'm offended that the Attorney General is waiting. He's got many other cases that are much older than this, but granted, court TV won't be there for them. This is another effort at creating a national spectacle. Now, Your Honor has some things to say about Mr. Murdaugh at his sentencing. You obviously believe he's guilty of that. You obviously, and the jury found him guilty of that. But I would ask you to put those feelings aside and give us a chance to litigate this jury tampering issue, to allow Mr. Griffin and I to have time, if there is going to be a trial on these, to prepare for those trials, which we won't with our calendar for the fall. And third thing is, why doesn't the Attorney General put some distance between the conviction in the murder case and the trial, if there has to be a trial, on the financial cases? I'm, as you know, as a prosecutor, I'm bewildered by this. Certainly they can do it, but why? Why? What is the hurry? Thank you, of course, no. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this isn't about a spectacle. These white-collar indictments have been investigated by the state grand jury, which is a partnership with the AG and SLED. And these particular, the Satterfield indictments were indicted in November of 2021, just about 2 months after the side of the road happened. This is about allegations that represent an assault on the state judiciary. And because of that, they need to be answered. Your Honor is exactly correct that the law does not presume prejudice. If he wants to file a motion where he cites law, then we can respond, but the law is very clear. It's that you don't presume prejudice, you try to seat a jury. And only through that process can the court then assess whether or not a jury can be seated. We are in 2023. The reality of the media environment is what it is. And unless we're going to say the judicial system just can't function because of publicity, that just leaves nothing left to happen. This is just the reality that we live in. And so we depend on the ability of the system, we depend on the ability of the jury selection process to seat jurors. And that is what should happen. And only if there is an inability to do so can this court then consider whether or not there needs to be some change of venue or some relief or something like that. That is exactly what the process should be. And this is a big county, this is Beaufort County, and fundamentally, just as we rely on lawyers, just as we rely on judges to be objective about what they do, and that includes the defense motion here, okay? We have an objective duty. We also depend, the system depends on jurors to be objective as well. And to just say, because there's publicity, nothing can be done, just throws the system out and leaves no recourse whatsoever. And what the defense can't do is try to essentially run down the street to the federal authorities and bypass the accountability that needs to happen in state court for a direct assault through use of a state law license on this courtroom, Your Honor, on the other courtrooms from the other counties that I named. The state judiciary needs, the state judicial system needs to answer for this the allegations of this assault. And that's why this is important. That's why this case has priority, and that's why the state seeks to move it forward.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Well, this wasn't his argument a year ago when he called the murder case first. The murder case was indicted after the financial crimes, and it wasn't that important then. Now, all of a sudden, it's, you know, the most important thing in the world. I would suggest, Your Honor, that he made a decision to try the murder case first, not the financial crimes. And as a result, we've been put in the position of where we're at today. In addition to that, I would state for the record, I want this clear, based on that is, Mr. Griffin and my trial schedules in other cases between now and the end of the year, we would be ineffective in preparing for this trial, any trial.
Your Honor, that is absolutely not what happened. I even said I was happy to try the white-collar cases first. It was the defense's motion for a speedy trial and Mr. Harpootlian's waiver of his legislative immunity, which is what led to the murder cases being done before. It was the defense that wanted to trial the murder case. They filed a motion for speedy trial, and the state said, okay, let's do it.
His decision to agree with that, Your Honor. It was up to him. He's calling the case today. The solicitor calls the case, the prosecutor. We don't call the case. It was his decision. He decided to go with the murder case first.
Your Honor, the state is happy to show up in court and seek justice for these very important matters whenever a date can be scheduled. And the only reason the murder went first was because of Mr. Harpootlian.
The court's not going to defer to Texas in setting a trial date. And a trial date will be set prior to the end of this year. You all have a choice of either the week of November 13th, November 27th, and there's an Allendale term scheduled. Or December 11th. You will have a choice of either of those 3 weeks to try whatever case is pending in those individual venues.
Your Honor, could we confer and email you today on what our preferences are?
No, we can confer and resolve it this morning while we maybe move on to the next matters. We have other matters.
State will take anyone.
Your Honor, without waiving my previously made objections, November 27th would allow us to deal with these other trials, although not really give us time to prepare for this, because you've already heard my position on that.
Well, November 27th, let's see.
Monday after Thanksgiving.
All right, let's see. And we're attempting to coordinate it with other existing terms of courts in the various places. All right.
Your Honor, where's the venue on November 27th?
I'm open to whatever venue. The predominant number of cases are pending in Hampton County.
And the state's preference would be to do the Satterfield in Beaufort because that is the greatest single loss. But if there are scheduling issues, we will do Hampton. I do believe that it makes the most sense to do that one first just because of the way this case is developed. And so the state would seek to call that one first in Beaufort County.
Let's see. November 27th is a general sessions terms scheduled here in Beaufort County.
For the 27th.
Yes.
That works for the state, yes, sir. Obviously, I need to coordinate with the solicitor's office as well. Absolutely.
No, we'll take care of whatever coordination is necessary, unless there's a death penalty case scheduled that week.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so the case is set for trial on November 27th.
That's the Satterfield case, right? Satterfield matter.
Is that the matter you're seeking, the Satterfield trial?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. That would be, of course, relevance. 2021 GS 4730.
Thank you for indulgence for a moment. Your Honor, nothing else, I'm sorry. We're trying to...
Do y'all want to set a deadline for any motions that might be filed?
Yes, sir, I think that's advisable. If I can look at my phone real quick, Your Honor. I would say because of the week prior, obviously, is Thanksgiving, that perhaps the Friday the 10th might be the best day for motions, and then responses to the following week. Maybe by Friday the 17th. I think if we have significant pretrial issues, it might even make sense to have a hearing prior to the trial date so that those, if there's resolution of those, we can hit the ground running with that trial week.
Your Honor, none of this is a big concern. I don't know why we just can't deal with it that morning. I mean, our schedules really are complicated. Can't we have the hearing that morning?
The morning of the trial?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Well, a deadline for filing the motions.
I don't have a problem with that. 10 days prior to trial and responses 5 days before trial.
Okay. I think, in effect, that's what you proposed.
Yeah, Your Honor, and I apologize, the 10th is Veterans Day. We could have the motions filed on the 17th.
God knows I don't want to have to work on Veterans Day. Oh, my God.
I just pointed that out, Your Honor.
I know the state government people enjoy these holidays, but we're going to have to rearrange a major personal items to deal with this. I plan to take Thanksgiving and visit my wife overseas. That ain't happening now. I've got to call her when I leave here to tell her. So perhaps we'll have to work Veterans Day. I'm sorry. I suggest that's not a
I
bad.
would say these people next to me work just as hard as they do, and Your Honor saw that.
We'll be working Veterans Day, so why don't you match it?
That's a deadline. Maybe you'll have it prepared the day before. Veterans Day is on the Friday the 10th, is that it? Well, the deadline will be Thursday the 9th. How about that?
And then responses in 5 days.
And responses in 5 days will determine when and if a hearing is needed prior to the 27th. If you'll put all of that in order and circulate it to council for any comment, and I'll sign a written order addressing all of what we've just discussed.
We're prepared, Your Honor.
Now, anything else we need to talk about in this case?
Your Honor, I hate to rise.
I said in this case. No, you're not in this case, are you?
Yes, Your Honor, but
Well, we're coming to you next.
I know I'm just charged with him in the other cases.
You're charged with what?
My client is charged jointly with Mr. Murdaugh and 3 other cases that have not been scheduled.
Well, he's indicated he's calling the State v. Murdaugh, State v. not Murdaugh, yeah, State v. Murdaugh in the Satterfield case. Unless you want to voluntarily join in.
Your Honor, I do not voluntarily join in anything.
All right, well,
Your Honor, I apologize, Mr. Moore, he just has to say it.
all right, well, I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Governor.